welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering Finnish Brutality 2021, the continuation war, Stage 6, Casevac. Wow, what a stage this is. A lot happens on this stage, so let's go in and explain what you're doing here. So you start out in the back of a Sisu Nisao, probably mispronouncing that, but it's an articulated vehicle, much like a BV-206 or BV-210. And you come out of the troop compartment, and using the door as cover, you have targets downrange you have to engage in that same 1-2-3, 1-2-3 pattern that's been so prevalent throughout the match. From there, you dash over to a car, and then you do the same thing again. 1-2-3, 1-2-3, remove the magazine from your weapon, retaining it, and then with the round that's in the chamber, you aim in at the far right target, get one more hit. And I'll remind everybody here that misses are 60-second penalties. So missing that last round can be really critical. Once you've cleared the weapon, then you've got a casualty on the ground. You have to apply a tourniquet properly, and it was marked off where it had to be and everything, so it could be consistent. You had to apply that tourniquet and then move the casualty from that location, get him into the back of the Sisu, and then once he was completely inside the vehicle, then you had targets you had to engage with your pistol. Be specific, 5 poppers. You had to knock them down. And then the stage was over. Pretty simple stuff, right? Let's take a look at the run.
Ready. Stand by!
You want one with bullet. It's only in the back. So that could be.
The fuck?
All right, that was a run that was both really good and not so good at the exact same time. Let's break it apart and get into what happened. Now, the first thing, it's not that prevalent on film, but as I got into the vehicle, normally I would have alighted from that vehicle, rifle in hand, ready to go. But as I got in, things were getting pretty slick. The temperature had risen, the ground was getting muddy, and the back of the vehicle was getting muddy, and my left leg slipped. And as soon as I sat down, I felt that I pulled my groin muscle a little bit. Not wanting to slip and fall flat on my face and risk a DQ, I put the rifle on the bench in front of me. Went over my strategy, buzzer went off, got out, retrieved my rifle, used the door as cover, and then proceeded to get hit 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then moved out to the car. Went and got my hits, a couple misses thrown in because why not? And then the next problem starts to happen. Now my intention is, after I get that final hit with the round that was left in the chamber, my intention was I was going to sling the rifle, apply the tourniquet, and then, as been taught in military training, do a fireman's carry. Get him over there and roll him into the back of the vehicle, because I'd watched other people drag him, and poor Monka from Polinar Tactical, that dummy probably weighed more than she did, and I just watched her fight, and I even watched full-grown men struggle with it, and I was like, thinking the fireman's carry is just going to be the way to go, because I'll just be able to roll and get it in, flop the legs in if I have to, and then go engage the pistol target. That was the plan. Well, reality had a different thing. And what happened is, after I got the tourniquet on, and I reached down and I grabbed a strap down by the crotch and one up by the chest, and I think I was going to pull them up and put them on my back. That was my intention. What happened was, as soon as I picked it up, I realized this is a big floppy mess. And it wasn't like in training when we used to train on each other. And I'm really kind of surprised Viral Staleka didn't make a competitor use another competitor as the dummy. It was just this mess that was going to be uncontrollable. So immediately, as I got halfway up, I'm like, dragging's the answer. Now, that was the right answer for two reasons. One, I had a floppy mess, and that's what I evaluated. The other thing is, when I had slung my rifle, my scope had caught the back of the hood of my jacket. So the rifle was not as low on my body as I expected it to be. And had I tried to put that dummy over my head and do a fireman's carry, it just was not going to work. Probably would have tripped me up and caused me to fall and lose a lot of time. So in the end, I made the right choice by dragging. So dragged that dummy over to the Sisu. Got him eventually in there, although if you see the way he was folded over and stuff, probably did even more harm to him than the wound that needed the tourniquet applied. But it's a match, and let's be honest, in real life, getting the guy in the casualty would have shown a little more care getting him into that vehicle. Now let's go attack that big thing you saw with that pistol that would not come out of the holster. What happened? Best I can tell, and this is what I recall happening, was it was frozen in the holster. And there's two ways to tell that. The first one is I visually remember when it finally came out, a piece, I'm calling it ice, came out. It could have been mud, frozen mud or dirt, and I'll get to that later. That did not come out on either camera shot, either through my GoPro or with the handheld. But I saw it with my own two eyes. Something came out of there in addition to the pistol. I was activating the release on it correctly. And later on, off camera, right after the stage, I went and did a whole bunch of practice draws, and it worked flawlessly. So I think it was a frozen piece of mud or ice that was in there. And another way you can tell that is on the side of the pistol, forward of the ejection port, about halfway to the muzzle, you see a big patch of mud on the gun. The pistol, Beretta APX, is done in woodland camouflage, and there's this big beige patch on it. And I think what happened is somehow mud had gotten into my holster, and just with the temperature differences, because it was hovering around freezing, it froze just enough to hold my gun in place. And another thing that supports this theory is other competitors had a case where condensation got inside their pistols, or their Glocks specifically, and that was not allowing the firing pin to go forward consistently, and they were getting light hits or failure to hits, and they were manually cycling their guns too. So the idea of the gun being frozen in the holster kind of stands up. I'm not exactly sure where all that mud and goop got into the holster, but as much as you're doing in these drills, it could have happened anywhere. Could have even been in there from the day before and just gotten into the right place. But anyways, that happened. That caused me several seconds of delay, obviously, and a little bit of just heart-pounding fear while it's going, why is this thing not coming out of the holster? Once I did get it out, I was able to engage the poppers. They all fell, and I was so hyper that you can see on video they fall as they get hit, but in my mind I'm like, I'm hitting them, why are they not falling? I hear the bullet hit, but that's just being in the moment. Believe it or not, after all that, I didn't par out. I actually had a fairly decent run on that because I found out later a lot of competitors were missing that final shot and taking that 60-second penalty. So what are the lessons here? Oh, and before I go further, one other thing, check this out. That's my magazine. Now, to get 5 poppers, I launched off 7 shots. The gun worked flawlessly, but I'm really glad. As you can see, I didn't have to launch an 8th shot. The magazine had stuck. Now, this is the weird thing about it. I thought, okay, whatever made my gun freeze up and stick in the holster must have got into the magazine. So when this stage was over and we had downtime before the 7th stage started, I went, took all the rounds out of the magazine, took the magazine completely apart, wiped it down, pulled it. Nothing came out. I saw nothing in there. I didn't find any dirt. I didn't find any debris. No reason for that to hold up. And unfortunately, in a later stage, this problem's going to come back and bite me, but we'll talk about it more when that happens. This stage was another super exciting stage, and another thing that I like about it is the real-world applicability. You have to go from one vehicle to recover a wounded comrade and get him to safety. You have to perform first aid, and in this case the first aid was a tourniquet. You have to do these things and yet still have to fight. This was a pretty realistic stage, and this is the kind of stuff I look forward to at Finnish Brutality, because not only are the stages hard and challenging, but they have real-world applicability. We hope you're enjoying this coverage of Finnish Brutality 2021. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for Stage 7.